Hey guys, welcome to the Dance Evolution channel. Today we are talking about pre-pointe myths, and I'm going to give you 3 of them. There are 3 things that I think are common conceptions within the dance world regarding pre-pointe that we should really talk about. The first myth is x-rays. So it used to be that dance instructors were encouraged to get their dancers x-rays before going on pointe to make sure that their growth plates are closed. But after doing research into this, I've learned that growth plate injuries aren't actually that common amongst dancers. So it's really more important that the dancer is ready to go on pointe holistically than it is to make sure their growth plates are closed. The reason behind this is because the growth plates in the ankles are actually meant to be weight bearing. So whether you're standing on flat or you're standing on pointe, it really doesn't change the growth plate that much. The other reason why is that there are multiple growth plates within the foot. So there are growth plates like in the longer bones of the foot, and those ones don't even close until you're in your early 20s. So why is it that we would wait for one of the growth plates to close to go on pointe, but not the others? It just kind of doesn't really make sense, right? Growth plate injuries are actually more common amongst gymnasts, and that's because they have growth plates in their wrists that they're really putting a lot of weight onto, and the wrist growth plates are not meant to be weight bearing necessarily. So that's usually more common amongst gymnasts than it is amongst dancers. However, I will say that you can sustain a growth plate injury if you have more of like a sudden injury, right? So if you're on pointe and you're not ready to be on pointe, and then you like terribly roll your ankle or land on it weird or something like that, obviously there is a risk of injuring your growth plate. So I'm not saying that you will never injure your growth plate if you're on pointe, but it's just not as big of an issue that we really need to be exposing dancers to radiation before they go on pointe. So we're just not doing that anymore. But I will say it is important to make sure that your dancers are holistically ready to go on pointe. And if you're wondering what that means, I created an entire series that I love for you guys, and it's in the Dance Evolution app. And it gives you a test that you can go through with your dancers to see if they're ready to go on pointe. And then if they're not, it gives you exercises for them to train. So make sure you check that out. Point number 2 is age. Usually we wait until dancers are like 10 or 11 years old to go on pointe. But again, this is kind of a myth because that was originally based off of the notion of their growth plates closing. So it's really more important that the dancer is like mature enough to be going on pointe. Do they have the technique? Do they know the dance steps? Do they have control over their body? Do they have good balance? Do they have strength? And all of those things, you know, are they able to be focused and dedicated enough to put in the training that's required to go on pointe? And also kind of keeping in mind sort of a side note that does take a lot of commitment and dedication and time to learn all of those things. And nowadays we're sort of trying to veer away from youth sport specialization, which is just a total like second topic. But considering that when you're thinking about dancers going on pointe, how much is it damaging in the long run for your dancers to be like prodigies on pointe at age 8, right? It just can, in the long run, be bad for them if they're doing too much ballet at too young of an age. So it's really more about the individual themselves, their readiness, and then what's healthy for them in the long run. So just keep all of that in mind when you're considering the correct time for your dancer to go on pointe. Myth number 3 is that dancers should be ready to go on pointe if they have the correct foot strength. But kind of like what I just said previously, it's not just about foot strength. So when you're in your pre-pointe class, you shouldn't just be focusing on like TheraBand exercises for your toes and ankles. Love those, but that's like really limited as to what you should be focusing on. So again, I've created a course that goes in depth into what it is you should be testing the dancers for and how to train each of those categories. But I will just generally say that, you know, you don't just want foot strength, you want the entire leg to be strong, you need to have power, you need to have coordination, and balance and all of those good things. So many things that go into being successful on point and being able to, maintain your alignment while you're doing steps like releve and pirouette and piqué turn and all those kinds of things. So keep those things in mind when you're creating your pre-pointe curriculum, because those are also important. They're just as important as having enough ankle strength. All right, that's it for this YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you like this information, consider liking and subscribing so that you can get notified when I have more videos coming out. And once again, leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you've experienced any of these things as a dance instructor or a dancer. And consider joining our free community on the Dance Evolution app. It's up and coming, and we'd love for you to join our group and talk about these things. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.